tell you tips on keeping your LPS nice and clean. Let's get started. Number 1. Do not use colored tape when sticking something to the LPS. It can result in blue marks on the pet. Let me just grab one of my pets that has gotten colorful tape worn off on it. See, I used blue tape, and so you can see there's a little bit of blue right there. I know you guys probably wouldn't want blue on your LPS. You have to wash it off extremely fast if you do. Otherwise, it stains the pet forever. 2. This would work with multiple colors of noses of LPS, but it's easiest with black. Know how your LPS's nose gets chipped? Well, a thing you can do with black noses, and this is why it's specifically black, I don't know, maybe you could use another permanent marker, but remember, it has to be permanent, otherwise it'll just wash right off. I've actually done that. I used regular marker and it came right off, so don't do that, use permanent. So I'm gonna grab my permanent black marker, and let's take an LPS that really needs it. So just pretend this one's chipped. You just color in the nose and it looks exactly the same. Like this one actually used to be chipped, but I colored it in yesterday, so now it doesn't look chipped. 3. Don't bang your LPS around. Because actually what happens to me is like I'll be throwing around my LPS, because I'm bored, and then it'll like hit the wall or the floor or something, and they'll get scratches and their nose will get chipped. That's not good. So I recommend you don't throw your LPS ever really, unless there's carpet. Actually, my brother threw this LPS and she hit a wall and she got this yellow scratch right here. 4. Don't leave your LPS like this when you have wood floor. This can result in the nose smudging kind of. Let me actually show you one of my LPS that it's happened to. You see how it's got that smudge mark right there? Yeah, that's what happens when you leave it like this on wood floor. To me, the smudges are a lot worse than chipping it, because the smudges just look ugly. They it just looks really weird on the LPS. So yeah, don't leave your LPS face down. Number 5. Make sure that when you're putting your LPS away, they aren't rubbing against each other. When the LPS rub against each other, it can result in them getting scratches, kind of like the one on this pet. Well, let me show you how they should be arranged. Okay, so you see how I have a really big bucket of LPS? I only have a little over 100 little pet shops. I think these buckets are perfect because then you can have all your LPS in one bucket and they can be spread out. So get a really big bucket if you only have that many. If you have 500 plus, a lot of LPS tubers, then I recommend you get many small buckets probably. That's what I've seen other LPS tubers do. And I think that would work pretty well because then you could give the LPS a lot of space. So I think that's a good idea. Number 6, only put sticky things on a pet that you know will not harm the pet in any way. kind of goes along with the first one, but like what I mean by this is don't use glue, don't use colored tape, because those will harm your pet and you may not be able to get it off. And also, let me show you, you don't ever want to like keep something on for too long. I actually had sticks on some of my pets for a while because I was obsessed with that. And that you kind of get this gross stuff on there. So I recommend that you don't keep sticks on for longer than a day. Probably want to take the tape off every few hours or so, because otherwise you're gonna get gross stuff on the back of the head and that's not gonna look very flattering. Number 7, do not overuse them too much, because I actually have a pet that would be great for this example. So this pet right here, she was my very first pet I got. And what happened to her is I was way overusing her. She couldn't do much since she was very, very old. I got her a very long time ago, I think 6 years ago. I think, right? It was, yeah, I think so. And what happened was I overused her way too much, and we were always carrying her around, like LPS Doggy 6702 and we were always carrying her around instead. So one day when she dropped her, her head came off, which is not what you want, and her head kept on coming off after we glued it. And then I made the smart move, and now I don't use her as much since, you know, I don't want her head to come off again. Now her head doesn't bobble because we've glued her so many times. You've used it for 5 to 6 years, a lot. I'd see you kind of retire it and like not use it. I'm not saying you can't use it anymore. I'm just saying that you kind of like don't ever like don't carry it around as much. Don't take it everywhere you go. Just kind of let it loose. You can don't play with it as much as you used to. You could still play with it, but not as much and very lightly. Great. Don't ever push too hard on an LPS's head. Back to this one. Another way it came off was when I was pushing extremely hard on the head when I was trying to get her to stick to something, but the sticky stuff wasn't working. It's a different sticky stuff, don't worry. And so it was just too much and her head came off. So do never push too hard on an LPS. This is number 9, I think. Don't put an LPS in your dirty clothes basket. Yes, I was stupid enough to do that. No, how it even got there, I don't know. And so it went through the washer. Never let your LPS go in there. It'll go in the washer. It kind of like rubs the paint. Like her tail was already having problems. Now it's having even more problems. Now the paint's coming off even more. And when she came out of the washer, she was all soapy and gross. Anyways, thanks for listening to my 9 tips. I appreciate you watching, and I didn't use my mascot today since, like I said before, I don't want to overuse her.